Hi, I'm Rob Cosman. Welcome to my shop. This is our second episode in our Wood is Good series. What we're going to focus on today is color. Now, if you've been around woodworking for a while, you've realized that there's lots of different species, but I'm going to introduce you to some that you may not have seen before, but they're out there. They may not be cheap, but they are available. So let's start down on the two extremes. Down here we have, and my pronunciation, I was taught by Dale Nish, so I've heard all kinds of different pronunciations, but this is called, I call it Gaboon Ebony. This is the material I believe that they make piano sharps out of, or they used to, on a piano. And that's black, 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 and there's actually a piece of African blackwood, so very similar. They're just black. Nice thing is they'll always be black. Well, other woods will change. These ones don't. So if you want an accent wood that is just black, there's your choice. Now, if you come all the way to this end, here's a piece of holly. This comes out of the US, I believe Maryland, and it's very white. In fact, it's probably the whitest wood that I know of. Nice hard wood, polishes beautifully. It will tend to yellow over time, so unlike the ebony, it stays that color. This one won't. It'll get a little bit on the yellow side. Now let's go back over to this end. There's several different ebonies. This is called moon ebony. It's black on one side, white on the other. Just said that opposite the way I showed you. This is Macassar ebony. This isn't a great example of it, but Macassar ebony has lots of browns and various shades of black through it. You get a pretty piece. It's gorgeous stuff. A little bit harder to come by. This is a piece of zircote. Now, I've always called this landscape wood because if you look at it, it looks like a landscape. Now, I'm going to show you a piece of this that I've actually made into a handle. So this is how it would finish up. There's a little bit of sap wood in there, in case you don't know. Sap wood tends to be on the outside part of the tree. That's the live part where the nutrients still traverse. And that usually is a different color than the heartwood, the inside part. In this one, your heartwood is the darker stuff, and your blonde is the sap wood. So that's a piece of zircote. Next we have a piece of, this is Brazilian rosewood. Now this is really rare, hard to come by. I'm going to put a little bit of, I've got a can of paint thinner here, and I'm just going to put a little bit on there just so you can see what it looks like when it's, if there was a finish on it. It really darkens down. And the sad thing about this is this stuff tends to get so dark over time that it loses all of its characteristics that you originally wanted to use it for. That's the case with a lot of these colored woods. Okay, this is a piece of, shoot Jake, help me, what is this? East Indian rosewood, yeah. And that's got some really nice purple hues. Let's see what that looks like. I got a little more on that brush than I wanted. I don't know if that shows very well in the camera. And that will darken as well. Now here's a piece of pink ivory, and that's a really pretty pink. Actually, I have one here. I'll show you. This is a handle. This is what pink ivory looks like when it's got a finish on it. This has got 3 or 4 coats of oil. Here's a piece. Now this is surprising. This is a piece of what's called Chittum, and it oxidizes fairly rapidly. So there's what it looks like after it's been sitting around for a bit. And when you freshly finish it, there's what it looks like. And now I have one of these as well that's in a handle form that's been several coats of oil. And that's a really pretty wood. There's a piece of cocobolo. And cocobolo has anywhere from yellows to purples to blacks and all shades in between. And sometimes it can be extremely pretty. This bit of a bland piece. I'll put a little bit of finish on that and see. Shows it off a little bit better. It is nice rich wood. And I mean that both in color and cost. There's that piece which is considerably darker, and there's your sapwood on that piece. A little bit easier to see on this side. And here's Purple Heart. Now most people are familiar with Purple Heart, and Purple Heart oxidizes, kind of goes the other way. There's, when you first mill it, it's almost a brown, and it doesn't take very long. In fact, a couple of days in the sun and it would even be more purple than that, but it will eventually go back to being a dark brown as well. And I'll put a little bit of finish on that one too. That purple really comes out nice, almost a violet. This is a piece of snakewood, which I've read is being listed as the most expensive exotic wood commercially available. And it's, I've got a handle I'm working on, but it's not finished. Put some finish on that. Does that show up well, Jake, on the camera? Mm-hmm. That's a really pretty wood. Very, very dense, very hard. If you want to see some idea of the cost, here's a piece of snakewood. And it's one of those ones where you got to kind of take it in whatever way you can find it. And that's got a lot of serious checks in it, but even that, there was $230 for that piece. I might be able to get a handle or two out of that, but it's a gamble. Okay, here's a piece of bloodwood. And bloodwood has a nice deep maroon color. There, it's oxidized a little bit. This was just freshly finished. It's got a very fine texture too. I like working with bloodwood. Here's a piece of Paducah. Now Paducah oxidizes and gets very dark very fast, but when you freshly mill it, it's almost like hunter's orange. Here's a piece of kingwood. That's oxidized, that's freshly milled. Rather boring grain on that piece. Here's a small piece. I got a bigger piece of this. This is help me out. Embonia burl. And this stuff's really expensive, but it's a beautiful wood. Here's a little bigger piece. Again, your sapwood and heartwood. Really pretty stuff. Now this is very rare. This is Chittim Burl. And this, from what I understand, is only one place you can get this. It grows in the up high in the Adirondacks. But really, really interesting color. Now that's a piece of Chittim Burl. And look at that, isn't that gorgeous? And speaking of yellows, if you look behind me, here's a piece of Osage orange. And that's got a real yellow, bright yellow. Here's a piece of Redwood burl. And I like this stuff too. It's kind of on the reddish brown side, but in fact, that made it so dark you can almost not even see it. A little too soft. Here's a piece of, this is called Vera Wood, and it's got a beautiful green color to it, and it just keeps getting greener with time. I've got a piece over here in a handle that's got 3 or 4 coats of oil on it, and it's got a really, really deep olive green. Emerald green, that's right, not olive green. Oh, shoot. And that's paint thinner. Fortunately, I can clean it up. Here's a piece of Tulipwood. This is Brazilian Tulipwood. And this has got a really nice color. It smells like flowers when you mill it. I love working with this stuff. Expensive. This is Thuya Burl. And that, get some more off my bench. It's a really, really hard, almost a waxy wood. I've only made one handle out of it. Heavy. This is another piece of, did I already show you some Redwood burl? I thought I did. Yeah, out there. There's another piece of Redwood burl. This is more Vera. That's another piece of Vera. Here's some Australian lace.
That might not need it.
What? This is some Australian lace wood. And you see these big flakes? I believe these are medullary rays. Also something that's very common in white oak if it's quarter sawn. That's pretty wood. Here's some bird's eye maple. Most people have heard of bird's eye. It's actually a lot more plentiful than people have been led to believe. I know because I come from a place that has lots of it. One of my favorite woods. Mess all over my bench, but that'll dry. What else have we got over here? Oh, this is a piece of Mexican rosewood, also called Catalox. Catalox, I pronounced that right? Very, very dense. In fact, this is one of the heaviest woods that I work with in terms of handles. And this just happened to be a nice piece because it kind of has a light pinkish shade on one side and really dark on the other. Really very hard, very dense, polishes up really nice. And there's a piece of bird's eye that's got several coats of finish on it. So if you're looking for color, there's just about every color under the rainbow available, but you need to be warned that if you're building a piece of furniture and the color is the main emphasis, it's not going to be that way forever. And as I mentioned, some woods are going to actually change color a whole lot faster than you would think. Purple Heart being one of them, Paducah. I built a rocking chair, a Samu style rocking chair, I forgot to mention this one, out of Paducah. And it wasn't very long before it was this rather bland, dark brown color. This is a piece of Shedua. I didn't even know I had any left. Haven't worked this in a long time, but this one's got some nice figure in it. It's a beautiful wood. Don't remember where it comes from, and I don't even remember where I got that. Probably from Dale Nish. He was always providing me with some exotic woods. He had a great collection. We'll finish up. I'll just show you some of these prices. So that piece of pink ivory, that handle you saw, came out of this board. So that piece with that added onto the back end was $1,170. Got that from Exotic Woods in Burlington, Ontario. I mentioned that piece of snakewood. There's a piece of holly here, and that piece of holly, which is quite large for holly, I didn't think it was a very big tree, but that was about $100. There's a piece of that catalox, and it's extremely heavy. That would be probably twice what the same size piece of maple would weigh, maybe even more. But as I said, very dense and polishes, really high luster. And this piece of Osage orange was $70. So gives you some idea. If you want to get into the real exotics, you're going to pay for it. But you know, a rainbow of colors. Hope this helps. If any questions, just post them below and we'll try to get a chance to answer to them. See you again next time.